Hello everyone and welcome. Yes, my name is Arrowfire. Welcome back to yet another episode of Look Out and Shout. And yeah, we're going to be ramping through another set of combiners. We have seen being teased recently that the final TFC Toys Terrorcons, their Jakiro, their Hungar, is being released. So guess what we're going to do? Yeah, we're going to go through all four of the previous releases that have been sitting on my shelf for the last however many years. This is with TFC Toys Astaroth, their version of a very stylized Sinnertwin from Generation 1. So, let me tell you why it's taken me so long to do a review on this. So at the very least, these have been out for something like 5 years. I picked them up after the first two were released. I thought, okay, this is interesting, let's see where it goes. And by the time I got all four that were available, it then went very, very quiet. And it's something like probably 3 years or more that we've actually not heard anything. There was talks of TFC going bust or the designs being picked up by somebody else. But they are finishing them under one form or another. Whether it's TFC Toys, a different design, a different company, whatever. It's still saying Jakiro, it's still saying TFC Toys. The set is at last going to be completed. That is why I held off doing a review on them. Because I thought, what was the point? And I did actually have all four of them up for sale. And I took the post down very quickly after the 4 days that it was up, when Jakiro was announced. But yes, this is going to make their combiner for Abominus, which is called Satan, as it shows on the box. Now, I thought for the names that are going to go through this set, that all of the individual figures were names that were going to make up different variants of the word Satan, or the name Satan, because one of them is called Lucifer. This one is called Astaroth, and apart from being a character of Soul Calibur, I had to try and remember where this comes from. But according to a quick Google, it is a demonic god or demonic entity of some kind, and that is going to be the theme of naming throughout this set. But the box itself is pretty cool. You've got a very nice, I like the sort of broken pixelated background there. They've gone for a very pretty box. Fairly basic otherwise, you've got typical product shots all over it. But also comes with a very nice black styrofoam interior. Very cool. Shows you for the accessory of the foot that he comes with, his gun and the figure himself in robot mode. Also an instruction booklet and a collector's card. For what it's worth, 2 screw hole covers as well. Just thought I'd mention it. It's been 5 years, let's get on with it, shall we? And here he is in his robot mode. So yeah, he's definitely got the beefy vibe on the go. I forgot how much he doesn't tab together in some places. There's a lot of untidiness, particularly around the back. I do get the impression with TFC Toys, the back does get forgotten about. But hey, he's got to house 2 dragon heads and dragon legs, and according to the instructions, which were a little hit and miss, that is correct, but it's been a while since I've transformed him. There he is holding his one accessory that he comes with, at least initially. Yeah, it's fine. He's definitely got a stocky vibe, a big vibe, and they clearly like to go in for this light piping. So he's kind of littered with it for the head. But I do like the stockiness that comes across on the chest. You'll see it more as it comes back round. Breakup of the yellow in robot mode works better, I think, than it does for alt mode, where it's just very much solid yellow. The fact that you've got the highlights of the yellow and the teal green just kind of work better in my eyes. Some good ratchets, good tolerances, some less so that like to keep coming untransformed and untabbed, but par for the course. But you see what I mean with him being Chug Plus scale. Let's get in for a closer look and try and get that light piping on the go. Look at that, for piercing red eyes. They've definitely got it right, considering the back of his head is pretty much all light piping. But yeah, you've got the very stocky detailed build of the chest. The head sculpt is not my absolute favourite. He looks very subdued and there's no alternative heads. But otherwise it cuts a good enough image. That stylised nature is really coming across well. You see what I mean about the legs? They're just kind of housed there, just like how the legs more or less just tuck into the side. Don't be at all surprised if this back panel comes off during transformation. Quite hard to get the gun in. It's a very tight connection, but it will hold in nicely. Speaking of which, he does come with technically another accessory. Would you believe it's this? It's the top of the combined foot, with a peg there that he holds as a shield. Which I like that they thought of it, but it's not exactly what springs to mind that the Terrorcons need shields. And even still, whilst it's good that they've used part of the accessories, you still got a big clump of it still around, the rest of it. But hey, yeah, it's something you can do. Yeah, Terrorcons and shields, it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, does it? Quickly show you some articulation. So head can go all the way around on a 360. Can look up a little bit, can look down quite a lot. That's good, even though he's quite small. Friction out on the side of the shoulder. good ratchets all the way around. Surprising the ratchets are housing in there. Bicep rotation, bit stiffer, but it's there. Just over 90-degree bend. The wrists and the hands are fairly disappointing. They're quite small. They do open out, but yeah, that's about it. The gun more or less sits in to the tightness rather than a slot. Waist rotation. There is a nav crunch, which is good, which would have likened for a bit more of a head upward tilt, but that is nice. Moving a very tight hip skirt out of the way. Ratchets out, almost out the full 90-degree. Ratchets out to the side, but then this tail of lizard mode starts to bump into itself. So yeah, there's good ratchets, and you'll get about that far, but it'll start to bump into his back panel. Bit limited there, which is a little bit of a shame. As I say, some tension in some surprising areas. Ratchets for the knee. It's a shame it starts to bump into the lizard head, because I would have liked that to have gone a bit further, but nice to get the ratchet. Ankle tilt down and a little toe tilt down with the claws. I do think the toes are actually a nice little feature. I thought they would just close them off with generic robot feet, but the fact that they're actual claws and translucent is a nice feature. So yeah, attention to detail is here. He's got tolerances in the right place, but some other bits look a little bit unfinished. Just trying to get him set into position. Yeah, he has his issues, but broadly speaking, for his size, he does okay. Okay, on to some comparisons. Here he is alongside Kingdom Cyclonus. So yes, I still say this is a Chug Plus scale or a Chug scale figure, because if I was to put him alongside Fan Toys Quietus, there just wouldn't be a competition. So yeah, it's definitely aiming for the smaller scale, and that's fine. That's just a range it's going to go for. But that's how he looks in robot mode, and yeah, he would look fairly okay, albeit stylized, alongside some of the Chug scale bots. Alongside some of the smaller Edge of Masterpiece, here he is alongside Target Master Hot Rodimus from Takara. That probably works well for the bot, but again, this is keeping with Masterpiece Carbot scale, which is quite smaller end of Masterpiece, but I thought I'd show you. Interestingly, same colour scheme. This is alongside Fans Toys Lupus, their version of Weird Wolf. Yeah, it's just no contest, isn't it? Okay, Fans Toys do go in for the higher end of Masterpiece, but wow, considering this guy's a combiner, triple changer and all that, yeah, it's just not the range that TFC Toys were going for, definitely on the lower end. Okay, let's get this guy transformed up, shall we? And there he is in his alt mode. It's a fair enough transformation. It's not too arduous one way or the other. It is a small figure, so they can only go a certain way. Now, I will say the first thing that hits you about this, other than his twin heads and his yellow paint scheme, I'm very aware that it's a rectangle. It seems a bit obvious to say, but he cuts the very square, maybe less stylized look of the set, at least of the 4 release as of recording. He doesn't have too much of a stylized image. He looks like a Sinnertwin would, the twin heads and the spiky tails, but he is fairly rectangular and leggy, and that's more or less it. I don't hate it, and it really captures the aesthetic of the character. If anything, it's more G1 than anything of the set, but I don't think that's a problem. I think it's a cool looking alt mode. The twin heads was always quite interesting, and even going back to the cartoon, I think he had one of the more speaking lines, maybe even more so than Hungar. But yeah, it's cool enough. The colours are very contrasting, that teal green to a very strong mustard yellow, and some nice light piping on the red being used particularly on the head, but I'll show you that in a second. Yeah, otherwise I can see this being upgraded to a full Masterpiece scale with longer necks and longer articulation, but this is very much constricted by its size and the fact that it will form a rectangular leg for Abominus. Let's get in for a closer look. Now, of course, I have got his gun fitted to him. You don't have to have it, but I think it's better. You can get a look in at the head there. The two heads, very expressionate. There's kind of your range of articulation. It's good. Could it maybe have been a little bit more? Perhaps, maybe. But you get nice opening and closing. The heads are very good on these things. I really don't know what you would call them. Two-headed lizards, two-headed dragons. There'll be a mythical name for it. I'm just not sure what. So as I say, you've got that light piping element on the horns. That's pretty cool. I'm not the biggest fan of light piping, but it's cool, nice enough. The gun looks pretty good, dead center. And whilst it definitely cuts a rectangular image and maybe not overly stylized, there is rigidness, there is grooves and detailing on the go, on the body especially. And you've got the nice little red highlights as well that make it all up. Translucent pieces on the feet, which is an odd choice considering no other part of the green has it on there. But otherwise it's, yeah, you can work out what goes where. The twin tails, I don't know if his original design had that or not. I'd have to check over the old G1 specs. I would have thought it would be a singular tail and twin heads, just at first guise of it. But yeah, that's more or less him in a nutshell. So you've seen the articulation. There is rotation at the head. Can't look up that much. It can do a bit. Can look down, but then starts to come untabbed. And can look left and right. The two can slightly butt heads. Arm articulation, it does come a little bit untransformed, which is a shame. It's not, I mean, it's stiff enough, but at the same time it doesn't really clasp, it more or less sits just under 90-degree bend at the knee and toe up and toe down. But there's only so much you can do. I don't think there is any real waist articulation and toe articulation, or rather tail articulation. But bits do come untransformed a little bit. It's not bad, but it is limited for the design that it's going for. It's the only thing it can really hold a pose on is, well, the pose it currently is. It's got a twin head and it's on all fours, and that's as much as a mythical creature like this can be. Now, I will show you combined mode when it's all ready to go, when the final figure comes out and we do the combined video. But his only other accessory that he comes with is his big shoe, which is going to make up Abominus' shoe, or Satan's shoe. Yeah, gives you an idea. It looks like a simple plug in. It's got some kind of ankle articulation to it. But yeah, that's what we've got to look forward to for what's going to come later. Okay, on to some comparisons. Bit of foreboding for the next review, but here he is alongside TFC Toys Mammon, their version of Blocked. Not my favourite of the set, but we'll look into that more when the other videos come out. So yeah, it's got a similar style to it, but I do feel this was very much the first release and the first design, and yeah, I don't know, maybe they've got similarities both being legs, but that's about it. And this is an interesting scale alongside Studio Series 86 in the choke scale, Slug or Slag. This inadvertently really works. So this is probably the right size, and as we know from the Call of Primitives episode, these two did kind of square off against one another. Now, alright, this is very much going for a stylized aesthetic, this is very much not, but how many Terrorcons are there out there? So this is as good a measure up to a Chug version as you will find, certainly for the Dinobots. I do think that this is, as I say, Chug Plus, as I like to call it, rather than Masterpiece scale. It's a stretch to call this Masterpiece. Third party, yes, but not Masterpiece. Yeah, it works quite well with some of the larger Chug figures. Again, keeping it beastly, here he is alongside an oversized Sharkticon from the Chug scale. That works quite well. Again, I'm liking these kind of, I don't know, beast vibes, Terrorcon vibes. They both look as scary as each other. So where can you put stylized Terrorcons alongside most other people's collection if the collection is predominantly G1? And again in Chug scale, here is alongside, was it Studio Series 86? Or was it War for Cybertron? Or I can't remember the toy line. I think it was 86. Here it is Scourge. This works really well. I think these two scale nicely together, and the colour schemes kind of work, particularly if you're going to get the Chug heralds of it and having that later season 3 where the Terrorcons kind of took over as a main army alongside Predaking maybe. So I kind of thought that works nicely. This is where again I say these guys are much more in a Chug scale than the MP scale. So what is my view on this two-faced lizard? Well, it is probably, and it has been touted as this as the weakest of the set that's been released. I mean, it's up for debate. There's things about it I do like. I think it gets possibly a worse rap than I thought it would do. I do think the size of this set, of the Limbots in particular, does let it down. It is very dainty. It is very much a stylized Chug collectors, as I say, Chug Plus. It's barely Chug Plus, it's just straight up Chug. And I feel that is such a niche. If you're going to go into a third-party realm, which is typically dominated by Masterpiece scale, this is not, as you saw, alongside a Fans Toys, it's not going to scale alongside most people's collection who do collect that stuff. And the stylized nature, look, I like it, I'm in for it, I like something a little bit different, and if it's something a bit feral, like Predacons, like Terrorcons, I think it works all the more, the jaggedness, rather than the silky smooth toon accuracy of Generation 1. So that's all well and good. But it is, again, niche. A lot of people will be turned off from that fact. So, yeah, I can recommend it, but I can see a lot of people saying it's not going to scale with anything in my collection. It's not going to go with anything in my collection because that's not how the majority of Transformer toys are designed. I totally understand it. But if you fancy something a bit different, then hey, this is available. And there aren't that many Terrorcons out there. That is going to be one big theme throughout this set. But I like this guy's stocky detailing on the front, a very wide chest piece. He's got quite a denseness to him, good girth, very much so on the neck as well. How it houses away the legs is not fabulous, but articulation's here for the most part, until he starts bumping into himself. I'm not wild on the head sculpt, and whilst the light piping is a nice feature, a lot of people do like it, it's never been my big thing. I'd rather have painted eyes than light trying to come in from the back, particularly when he's stuck into a cube. I can appreciate it for what it does, I just think it has its limitations. I don't think its size helps it, but it feels good enough. The ratchets are a nice surprise, some of the articulations like ab crunch is really good as well. It's going to really be a case of, are you happy with the combiner come the end of it? Because the stylized nature is very cool, it is something different, but as I say, it's very niche. And is it going to be enough to make you want to buy all of these figures? Well, as I say, there's not that many Terrorcons out there. Maybe it's a case of you didn't want to go for the unique toys version, and as of now, there's nothing else, so it's the only other gig in town. Not much else to say on it, really. If you've got a Rebirth set of figures, as I say, throwing in the likes of Studio Series 86 Scourge, to make up the likes of the Rebirth Castle, what you see in that mini-series, then it will scale pretty well with that. But otherwise, it kind of does its own thing. Based on that, I give this guy 3 Rodimus Star Badges. It does have its limitations, and I do think the alt mode, whilst it has cool twin heads, just looks very rectangular. Probably one of the duller of the alt modes that are available in this set, but we'll get to the others in due course. But there we go, that is my review of TFC Toys S-01 Astaroth, their version of a G1 Sinnertwin. I'll put some photos up at the end. Thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you on the next one.